Who doesn't love a challenge at 6 a.m.?
4 a.m. Yeah.
Me. 4:30 a.m. Yeah.
So lovely to have you both on Sunrise. I really enjoyed this series. I think it's so interesting. And you both play such fascinating characters. And in your case, two fascinating characters.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about your characters in this, because I think it's interesting to look at the kind of the victims of not just crime, but true crime media that's so huge right now.
Well, I play Melanie Cave. My son, Warren Cave, who's played by Aaron Paul, has been in prison for 19 years for a crime I know he did not commit. So it's pretty dark. It's the exploration of that kind of loss, the mother son relationship. Because I feel like our show is, yes, it's about a true crime, but it's more about the family dynamics behind that and what it's like to revisit those.
So true. And then you get to play two amazing characters, co-stars, sisters.
Co-stars.
Which performance was better? No,
You tell me.
Is that hard to do? Because it's kind of quite surreal watching you play holding hands, with yourself. I mean, it's quite remarkable.
Yeah. It seems like I'd be very curious to talk to like Paul Rudd, who's doing that show where he's playing his own clone, right?
Yes,
and
yes.
Mark Ruffalo's doing a twin thing.
Yeah.
I think we should kind of compare notes on how to do it. Because, it's just super technical. I mean, it's always a technical medium, but like times 10 when you're playing both. But it's a challenge. Who doesn't love a challenge at 6 a.m.?
4 a.m. Yeah.
Me.
4:30 a.m. Yeah.
It's just a normal Tuesday. What I find interesting is you're talking about, a mother's relationship as a mother and the idea of my child or any child being potentially incarcerated for life falsely is almost too much to bear. What kind of research did you do for this?
Well, I mean, the amount of people who are in prison, particularly in our country, is for crimes they did not commit, is pretty vast.
Yeah.
In terms of coming from it as a mother, it's a loss similar to death, and yet they're still alive and they're still suffering. So you're sort of in this limbo land of there's nothing I can do to help him, but you can't really go on with your life. I mean, you can't be sort of like, oh, I'm gonna go to a party and have a glass of wine or go to the grocery store and everything's gonna be fine, because it's not. You can't. Your life sort of comes to a dead end.
So interesting. Do you guys listen? Obviously, the world is obsessed with true crime podcasts at the moment, in particular. Do you listen before you decide to sign on? Did you listen to them, or certainly did you listen to them after signing on for this role?
I listened to them before.
Yeah.
I'm not like a full junkie. I haven't listened to all of them, but I've listened to quite a few. I find them very enjoyable.
Yeah.
Being a part of this show really does change it a bit, though, because you think a lot. You start to empathize more, and sympathize with people you've never met, and you start thinking about the people who aren't mentioned in the podcast, and it really ruins the listening experience.
How dare they? How dare they?
Right, no.
No, but you'd think about it. You're right. They're not. I always remind myself if I'm watching something too grippy on television or on film, like, oh, it's not real. But it is real.
It is real. These are real people.
And your entertainment is fascination, but entertainment is at
the thing. It's like packaged as this entertaining, slick. It feels almost fictional because they're so well done, but.
And what this show does is really explore the people behind that. What is it really like for this family to have their case reopened? What does it do to Poppy Parnell, played by Octavia Spencer, who runs the podcast? What experience does she have going through this? So we sort of took the serial podcast true crime genre and sort of flipped it as a family drama.
Family drama.
Yeah. And what you said, it's actually interesting. I do think that a lot of our characters in our show feel like they are the victim. And we can't all be the victim.
Right.
But, I mean, Lainey in particular, of the two that I play, I mean, she really has this, like, she is a victim of everything, of every circumstance. But we all kind of are, because this is, the actual crime that happened just blew up a bunch of lives. I suppose that's kind of the point. Like, when a murder happens, it blows up a whole huge amount of people, you know.
Right.
Their existences just get like thrown into disarray.
Everyone has their own traumatic experience based around it.
There are so many victims with a single crime, let alone when there's...
And if somebody's incarcerated for a crime they didn't commit, that has a ripple effect as well.
It's amazing. Well, guys, you play it with such compassion and interest, and I think a lot of people will see true crime from a different perspective as a result of this. So congrats on that.